everybody. We're here today doing the love forecast for the month of May. Welcome to my friend Moira Hutchinson, and she's here to guide us with a card or two and give us her insight on what's going on with the love forecast. I'm going to share some things with you too, and we're basically just going to have some fun looking at love for the month of May. So thank you for being here, Moira.
My pleasure. It's always fun to hang out with you, Ronnie.
And why don't you just remind us what your website is and your page?
So my page on Facebook is Wellness with Moira, and that's my website too, www.wellnesswithmoira.com.
Moira. Okay, good. So let's get into the good stuff. What's going on from your perspective? What do we have to look forward to in May?
So May, yesterday was the halfway point between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. So this is kind of so May, May is actually, it's a long month, but it's a very powerful, solid energy type of month where we are starting to see blossoming, right? So I don't know about you, but I absolutely love watching birds nesting. I have a robin nesting on my deck, actually.
Wow, that's exciting.
It is. But also it seems like every day you go outside and the buds are really bursting open with new life. And so if you think about that in love, it's like the germination of what you've maybe been seeding over March and April, and now you start to see it. So that's what I feel like this halfway point is kind of the promise of the summer and the love. It just there seems to be a lot of love energy coming in. Can you feel that too, Ronnie?
My favorite 2 weeks of the year, I live in Connecticut, so that's in the northeast of the U.S. And my favorite 2 weeks of the year are the last week of April and the first week of May, because that's when the leaves are just coming in. Like my trees are getting a lot fuller now, so it's not all those little teeny baby leaves. And I have trees in my yard that bloom at that time. And you just, drive around and you see the weeping cherry trees and everything. It's just, for me, the most exciting thing to see that. And I love phlox, the flower that looks like a little carpet of flowers. And it's my favorite time because all these things start blooming and it's just gorgeous. And traditionally, from a earth-based, maybe pagan standpoint, the month of May is about fertility. I mean, even going back to ancient Rome and ancient Greece, the month of May was always about fertility. And so not just about growing things in the earth, which obviously was very important since they didn't import their food from all over the world like we do. But also for love. I mean, it's a traditional time for people to connect and marry and whatever as the weather starts to improve and things blossom and love blossoms, as you said. So absolutely. I did a little looking into some astrology, and it was really interesting. The full moon in May is called the flower moon. I didn't even realize, but all the moons are named.
Yes, they are.
Which is really, and it's a very ancient thing. It's not like a new thing. It's an old thing. So I guess there's a lot of shifting going on right now. That's what I was really gathering from the whole astrology reading about the month of May, and maybe it has to do with all of 2019. I'm not 100% sure, but basically it sounds like things could really take off in May. It said something about rocket fuel. I'm like, wow, that sounds powerful. And that our values and desires are undergoing some kind of radical shift. And so sometimes we're clinging to things where it's time to cut loose and let go. It talks about letting go. That's one of your favorite things to talk about.
Absolutely.
It talked about cutting away the dead weight. And so we'll talk about that as pruning, right? Here we are in the springtime. After things flower, you usually prune. Yeah. And it's really a matter of normal. It's a very normal thing to do. So I also talked about sometimes in this full moon, we might fool ourselves into thinking, oh, that's not about me. I'm above all that. I thought that was really interesting. So it said the truth is most of us still have some unfinished business to take care of, and before we can fully transcend energetically. And so basically it says life is too short to get stuck in the past. So do what you can to let go. And it talked about some rituals for symbolically releasing and letting go. And like I'm sure you have several. One of my favorites is to write down whatever, what doesn't serve you anymore, what's no longer needed in your life, what are you willing to let go of. I love to write it all down and burn it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites too.
Yeah. There's something really that feels so good about the energy of burning it, because that is transformation. From the ashes, the phoenix rises, and so something new is born and starts. So, and then it says that this is the flower moon where things are starting to flow and glow. I love that. Don't you?
Beautiful. Perfect. Yeah. And so, that thing about the naming of the moons, basically what it is that the idea of it is that it's each month we have like a prevalent energy. Because I know a couple of months ago, I think February is snow moon.
Yeah.
Because it's the most snow. So it totally makes sense that the May moon would be flower month, because that just feels like that's what we're getting enthralled by, is all the flowers coming and the birds singing, But I'm thinking, just feeling into that, let's see what comes up for us for the tarot based on that idea.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, and this is really cool. What's come up is the Seven of Swords.
Well, let's see.
Want to see that again? Can
you see? Okay, great.
There it is.
Thank you.
So Seven of Swords is all about, this is picking up on what you just said about the letting go, because the Seven of Swords is basically, swords is to do with thinking. And so have a look at what do you want to keep with you. Some of your thought processes are serving you and helping you align with what you want to blossom into, right?
Yeah.
But there are things that are maybe under the surface that are derailing you. Maybe this saboteur voice or the something that's holding you back. And so this is a really big time of doing like an inventory, really watching yourself. How do you speak about yourself? How do you speak about situations that you're in and the people that you relate to? And just do an inventory and see which ones serve you, which ones are helping you move towards the creation of what it is you're wanting to be into, and what's holding you back. And then maybe you could set up something like Seven of Swords is very much about leaving the ones behind. So once you've done your little inventory, maybe you could do what Ronnie just said about writing down the ones that you're leaving behind and burning them. The other part about that burning piece is I love to create it as a sacred ritual. So I will maybe get some crystals and light some candles and do some meditating to really help you get into that release energy.
Yes.
Very
good. Very good. I think when you make a ritual out of it, you're putting more energy into your intention about what you're trying to accomplish. So if you want to let go, it makes sense to do a little meditation, do a little visualization, add a little prayer. And, definitely you set the energy and make a sacred space with the candles and sometimes incense or whatever. So, yeah, go to town, do whatever you want to let go. And so some things that are traditional for letting go of, which may or may not apply to the people who are listening or will look at the replay later, could be like if you think things like all the good men are taken. That is definitely something to let go of.
That's one of those things you're leaving behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Get rid of that one, because it's absolutely not true. And you don't need all the men anyway. You only need one. You only need one good guy. And he's out there. He's definitely out there. So if you move past that idea of limitation and consider that there might be an abundance and you only need one, beautiful. Another thing that sometimes people get stuck in terms of relationships and love is that it has to be a certain kind of guy. Like you have a type.
Mm-hmm.
And I have found that women who have a type, what they don't recognize about their type sometimes is that that guy has all those qualities that they just get so excited about and they're passionate about, and it just makes their heart sing. Unfortunately, that guy is a package deal, and he often also comes with the things that make them break up. So if he's really charming, he might be charming to too many other women at the same time. Or he might be the kind of guy who is a very powerful, successful man, but that means he's super focused on himself and doesn't always have time for you. So that's another thing I would look at. If you have a type, think about where you can bend the rules, your own rules about your type, to give yourself a better pool of applicants for who you might want to date and get to know and check out. And, that goes back to the abundance of May and experiencing and living in that abundance so that you can find the right match for you.
That's beautiful advice there, Ronnie, because one of the things that I might just, if I could just add a wee piece to that, is that when you're looking at your type, and you can maybe have a list of all the traits that you want as your type. The thing about being critical about, so if he's not this and he's not doesn't have this kind of look or doesn't treat me in this way, it's a really good thing to do, actually really get clear on what are your deal breakers.
Oh, yes.
Right. And so just to carry that, because I don't know about you, but when I'm in a relationship that I can sort of say, well, in the big scheme of things, how important is that? But I would have I might have 2 or 3 things that are deal breakers. If that has what happened, then I'm not going to be in a relationship with that. But sometimes we put too much emphasis on things that really don't matter that much in the big picture, right?
That is so beautifully said, Moira. Really, I so appreciate that you added that, because that is very true. And I work with my clients for sure to help them come up with what are your deal breakers and what are your must-haves. Yes. What are the things that you absolutely have to have? Like, he has to be a kind person, or he has to be smart and intelligent, or for some people, he has to be faith-based. There are things that you absolutely must have in your partner. But then where can you bend the rules a little, just like what you're saying? So, yeah, I agree. That's a really good point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So wrapping this up, and I know you're going to draw. You're going to draw a card, and then I'll do a Soulful Woman card.
Sure. Yeah, I could do that. Okay, so let's see what we get for this month. Oh, this is beautiful. So this is, I hope you can see it good. That is the card of spring.
Well, that's beautiful. It's tulips, isn't it?
Yeah, 2 tulips. So it's the card of partnership, which is really interesting that's what I picked for the month of May. And the tulips, obviously, they come up at the beginning of May, the end of April, the beginning of May. And the 2 tulips, to me, this is the card of spring, but it's also the card of love and partnership. So when this card comes up, that means it's really good energy for finding that connection that you've been looking for. So I'm very excited for people this month, because this is a really good month. Absolutely. If you get out there and meet men and cross paths with them, you could find your
perfect one. The perfect one. That's awesome. And so now we're going to have a look at what's going to come up for the month of May with the Soulful Woman cards. Oh, and this is nice too. So this one is called Inner Wakefulness.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful artwork? And so here, I love these Soulful Women cards, because they have beautiful artwork, but then they give us an affirmation. So the affirmation is, I am completely awake and tuned into my truth, clarity, and inner wisdom. That's the perfect thing to go with those tulips, but also to go with that energy we were just talking about the letting go of the limiting thoughts and mindset that might be blocking you.
It went with the astrology. It just was, it's really interesting how it all just fit together. So say one more time what that was about.
So this one is inner wakefulness.
Inner wakefulness, which is like being aware, having a more conscious approach to what's going on for you and how you interacting with the people that you meet. Yeah.
So kind of being a wee bit like a detective on what are your thoughts? What are the thoughts that are contributing towards that flowering energy? And what are the ones that are saying, like you said, and you've said that before, that thought process. Then I hear people say that all the good guys are gone. It's like, no. No, and so that sometimes if we're creating things that we don't like, then we need to look within with that inner wakefulness to see what is it that I'm doing or saying or thinking, where's my energy at that's creating all of these situations or the idea that I'm not creating the success that I want to.
Yeah, and that's why that goes right back to where we started, with our little session today about the love forecast for May, because it talked about what can you let go of, and that this is a powerful time to let go. And it talked about rocket fuel. I was like, oh my
I
God.
love that.
It's had something to do with Mars opposing Jupiter, kind of above my head. But the idea is that if you're ready to let go and move on, this is the time.
This is it. This is it. And the other thing is this, it's great that you did check in with a wee bit on the astrology part, because you have to remember that we are all planetary beings too. So whatever the planets are doing, and in particular the moon, because the moon is our inner wakefulness is represented by the moon. That's who we are at the core. It's like the moon, the cycles of the moon is the cycles of you.
Right. And astrology is thousands and thousands of years old. It's just amazing how so much is built on that, and it's still going on, and it's just an incredible old ancient tool and technique that came out of Greece, I believe. And it's still serving us, because we are affected by everything that's going on, by the movement of the planets and the stars and the way they interrelate, and the moon is involved and all of that. So the good news is the month of May, if you're ready to let go of some old stuff that could get in your way, you could absolutely find the right guy for you.
Absolutely.
And that is the happy good news that Moira and I bring you today. Yay!
Yay! So we wish you a wonderful month of May. Happy spring cleaning, and look forward to checking in with you in June. Excited about what we might see then.
If you have any questions, you can always leave them underneath in the comments.
Yeah.
Please feel free to like my page or Moira's, or both. That would be fun. And thank you so much. Yeah, let's like a both. And thank you so much for being with us today. We're thrilled that you were here, and that we can tell you about the fabulous May love forecast, and we'll share June next month. So thanks, Moira.
Thank you, Ronnie. And thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching. Have a great month.